Welcome to your astrology and spirituality overview for Sunday, the 31st of January. Thank you so much for joining us. Today we are using the Magical Unicorn Oracle cards. Absolutely love these. I had a dream as well last night, I think it was, that I was stroking a unicorn. So that was a nice part of the dream.
Yeah, I didn't really have a lot of awareness to unicorns. I mean, obviously I'd heard of them before I met Elisa, but we were actually out yesterday buying some materials to do with our build, and we actually spied a unicorn hand pump soap.
Oh, that was so cool.
Which
I have been thinking about that.
I think that might be coming into the house really quite soon.
So the card that comes up is very similar to another message we pulled this week. It says thankful. It says, think about the people and the things that you're grateful for. So this idea of gratitude comes back up. This card is so lovely because, yes, there's a unicorn in it, but also there's this lady and she's cuddling her cat and she's showing, this wonderful creature so much love and affection. And maybe it is about, if we do have a pet or, we see some birds out and about, that it's just taking it all in and taking stock and just admiring the beauty that is in the world, because it has been so intense for all of us. And it's funny in a way because we're all sort of sharing in that, and I think there is a global grief coming up about the way things have been mismanaged with COVID, also with just social unrest and social injustices and people just feeling like they're not heard, and it's just been really, really tough.
It's thankful also, because I was trying to think as you were talking, what's the difference between gratitude and thankfulness? And I was thinking, so gratitude is something that we can always keep reminding ourselves about, but thanks is something that we can share with others. It's still a form of gratitude, but there's a lack of acknowledgement in the world, I feel. I really, really feel that we don't sort of... And some people, if you try to give them thanks, they don't want to receive it. That's an interesting one, isn't it? And it's like, oh, that's fine. It's it's too sort of like...
Or a compliment, some people really, they can't take it.
Exactly. So I think it's good to obviously bear in mind that gratitude is so incredibly important in our own relationship with ourselves and our environment and our situations. But I think the thankfulness is something we can express to others. My mum, bless her, Elsie, I used to call her the Prophet Else, because she didn't used to come up with sort of individual things that would happen particularly, but overarching things. She had a real sense of perception about where things were heading. And but my mum really taught me that good manners were very important, and I still feel that good manners is something that does create a kind of buffer when the reality comes into situations. So if something goes slightly wrong, like if we make a mistake with sending someone's chart, or if I make an error on a live reading, if I'm very thankful to the other person of their understanding of our mistake, I think it does create a different energy. If we're kind of permanently irritated and expecting everyone to get to it to suit our agenda, in other words, arrogance, I think that actually does create a kind of not very pleasant energy. And I think there's a lot of that kind of energy going around in society these days.
A lot of entitlement as well.
Yeah, I was talking to someone yesterday who runs a pub and has done so very successfully for a number of years, and he was just saying how difficult it had been during this COVID thing, even when the pub was reopened, because people just weren't showing an understanding, a respect for how it was for the staff working there, a respect for the other people going in for something to eat. People are trying to bend things all the time to suit themselves. It's a form of greed, to be honest. It's a kind of enslavement to consumerism. We all need to just stop a little bit and say, well, if you are in one of those establishments, take your glass back, take your plate back. That's being thankful to the people working there. It's humility. We need a lot more of it. So for me, I think thankfulness is what we can express to others, and the gratitude is what we can think about for ourselves.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
I don't know if that
plays
I
absolutely love that.
So
what's happening with the astrology for today?
Well, now I joined in with all of that, I can't remember. Some astrologer I am. So let's have a look. Well, the moon is in Virgo still. It's at the midpoint at midday in Universal Central Time. So later today it is going to go into an opposition with Neptune. This can be quite tricky, actually. If we think the moon's in the very practical, earth-ruled, analytical sign of Virgo, that's about precision, as Neptune's in its home zone of Pisces, which is very much about mysticism, escapism. It can be to do with blurry lines, can be to do with art and healing, but it can be to do with deception. I think if you're feeling a bit unwell today or a bit drained, don't look at it in purely physical terms like, well, it's because I did this, I did the other. Think about your emotional dimension. Is there part of your shadow side you're not embracing? On the other hand, if you're someone who is very good at doing that, but you feel a bit overwhelmed, a bit run down, well, think about being a bit more practical. And that's the kind of stuff that Elisa and I, we need to push ourselves to get more ordered, because we tend to sort of live in that Neptunian realm quite a lot just by the nature of the work. It's very much to do with being tuned into people's feelings. So I think that's the thing that we all need to try and find, a nice balance between the 12th house and Pisces energy, where Neptune lies, just the escapism and the practicality of Virgo. And if we don't, then I think we could feel a bit today. Right. So if you want to avoid then it's important to either get a bit more organised or let a bit of vulnerability in if you're someone who tends to be very precise and organised, but a bit tense about feeling that you might have any vulnerability. So it's trying to find a balance.
Oh, lovely. So we're going to do a bit of housework today then?
Well, for an hour perhaps. God, is it that long? Have I made that pledge? Clearly Neptune's in the mix. Deluded myself.
I'll hold you to that now, an hour. And myself. Well, thank you so much for joining us here today, and wishing you all the best. And if you would like to read what's happening for your individual zodiac sign, you can find that in the description box beneath this video.
Brilliant, thanks so much. So from Mrs. A, it is...
Goodbye. And from Mr. A, it is...
Goodbye. Goodbye.